Hello, I'm John Higgins and welcome to my channel. In today's video I would like to show you some new virtual pipe organ software that I've been trialling, and this was on the recommendation of two of my friends, Dr. Vidas Pinkausis and James Flores, and I thank them very much for their advice and recommendation to trial this software, the Sweelinq virtual pipe organ software, which is recently developed and is now in the beta stage of testing. And so I'll be sharing this video with a window capture so that you can see what I'm doing on the laptop, and I'll talk you through my experience of it. So the software itself isn't that large to download. It's fairly quick, and the sample set that I'm using here is a free organ from Cam, which is 3 manuals and pedals with a nice selection of stops, and that was approximately 6 gigabytes of data to download that sample set. And once I loaded it up, I had to do some configuration to set up the software. So firstly, you have to register as a user and put in your name and address and details and sign up, so that you have your own login to the software. And then you have to register the laptop or computer that you're using, so that the hardware is identified by the software. There's probably a better technical explanation. I'm not really an IT person at all. And then you configure the audio settings, and once that basic setup is in place, then you do the Midi setup for all the different keyboards. So as it turns out, I have 3 manuals, 3 keyboards, which lines up perfectly. So in this first tab here, you can see the organ of Cam here, which I've downloaded from 1859. And there's also a screen here for setting up different combinations of presets, which I haven't done yet. There's another tab here which has the ability to record the MIDI file of your playing. So that's actually recording the exact keystrokes and the stop selections that are used, as opposed to actually recording the audio output of the laptop. We have a pitch and temperament setting where you can change the temperaments and the pitch depending on how you prefer, or if you want to tune the organ to other instruments. Then we have a screen here for organ settings, which I'll show you in a little more detail. And let's have a look here. The first one is keyboards. So this does take a few minutes of setup to configure. So I have my 3 keyboards and the pedal board connected to a USB hub, and then a single cable into the laptop. So the first keyboard we have here, let me just check if that's, don't know that that's actually showing up, unfortunately. So the first keyboard is the Boven work, and so I set up the MIDI port as the third keyboard, third manual, which is the top one. Then the manual, the keyboard's described as a manual, which is the second keyboard, and the positif, which is the bottom manual, and the pedal. And then you set the MIDI channel, which I've done as MIDI channel 1 through all of them. and it was reasonably straightforward to for the software to identify the MIDI inputs. So there's a button that has MIDI Learn, and you click on that and it asks you to play the lowest key of each one of the keyboards as you go through these the settings, and it picked it up immediately, which was really handy. So some of the software you have to play the lowest key and the highest key so that it identifies the full range, but this software only required the lowest key, which was quite good. And then once the keyboards are set up, there's another tab here for switches, which is for the stop selections, which if you had an existing organ console, you could configure particular stops to the draw knobs on your console, which I don't have any of those, so that wasn't applicable. And then there's another window here for sliders, which I wasn't really sure what that meant initially, but then I realized that that was for the swell pedal or the swell shutters. And so the swell pedal on this is part of the MIDI from the pedals. So I selected the same MIDI port as the pedals, and then the type of slider you have to select is called control change, and then click on the MIDI Learn button, and it asks you to adjust the swell pedal from the minimum to the maximum, and it actually picked it up straight away, which was really good. So that made it easier. And there's also the ability, you can set up switches or adjustments for the audio output level, the bass pitch fine tuning, and reverberation level, but I'm not adjusting any of those at the moment. It also has another tab here for preferences, which you can adjust the wind fluctuation, the dynamic detuning, tracker noise, blower noise, tremulant noise. And you can also adjust the rank voicing, so if there's particular stops that you want to be louder or softer than what they would have been in these recordings, you can adjust that, which is quite high tech and interesting, that for real experts in organ playing and acoustics, I'd imagine that would be quite useful. And I have heard that Richard McVeigh from Beauty and Sound channel, I believe that he adjusts some of these ranks to provide the optimal balance in the organ sound, which is really elite and fantastic level. And finally, there's a layout tab here, which enables you to select, for example, if you have a touch screen on the left or right hand side of the organ, to display the stops, to simulate if you're actually at the organ, to make it feel like you have the stops either side. But again, I don't have that, I'm just using the laptop. And then there's also a general tab here, which enables you to set the audio device, which is my Focusrite USB audio interface, and allows you to set the buffer size, which can be helpful to tweak if you're having problems with latency. So latency is where you press the key and there's a delay in the sound coming through. Yeah, again, that's delving into some deeper technical knowledge with computers and signal sampling, to do with your sample rate, the buffer of the window that it's collecting all of those samples, and the speed of your processor in the laptop. There's another tab here for audio outputs, which again, I'm not using that. Another tab for MIDI ports, which I used to, as I explained, to set up at the beginning. So you have port 1, 2, 3 and 4 for the 3 keyboards and the pedals, which was pretty intuitive. MIDI triggers, was fairly straightforward as well. That was just note on, note off, which was straightforward. There's another tab here for preferences, which just gives you the option of loading up the sample set on startup, which is what I've selected, so that when I open the software it brings up the organ that I want to play straight away, which is probably useful if you have multiple sample sets loaded up, or on the external hard drive or the laptop memory, but I only have one at this stage. And also the console windows again allows you to be able to have 2 or 3 screens to display what's going on. There's also an advanced tab which has some more information that's not really applicable. So that's a brief summary of the setup. You can also see that there's a live indication for the swell, which if you see my mouse right here, there's a swell 100%, and then I close it 1%, 0%, and open to 100% and shut. So that gives you a live display of the swell pedal setting, which could potentially be quite helpful. And there's also the settings here for the reverberation and audio level. So that's a few of the settings. You can see down the bottom here is some of the preset pistons, which allows rapid changes of registration, which I'll be keen to explore and set up. So that's a brief introduction to this virtual pipe organ software. It did take a little bit of time to set up, but some of that is quite possibly because of my lack of IT knowledge, and it's only the second time that I've been through that process. I using the Grand Orgel software, as you would have seen on some of my other videos, and it's great to try this software out, which certainly seems a lot sharper and superior in many ways. So we'll wait and see what happens when the beta version trial period expires, I believe at the end of this year, and at the moment it's free, and we await to see what the full release will be, and how much the cost is and how that works. So one other thing is that it does require the internet to be connected. There is a function that allows it to be offline for, I believe, 14 days. But when you're initially setting up, make sure that there's an internet connection to register as you're uploading the sample set. So that's a brief summary, and I'm looking forward to playing it, and stay tuned for the next video for an opportunity to hear this wonderful instrument. So we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye.